What's going on, workforce? Brian and Chris here, and today we're returning to Square Enix's prohibited activities. Square Enix has a follow-up this week for us, and I tried to get into that entire intro without laughing because we were having so much fun in the pre-show. Guys, over on Twitch, you can hang out with us live while we film these videos, so be sure to go check out Chris. The links are in the bottom below. We thank you guys so much for the support, and we've got so many surprises for you going all the way through this month. But Chris, dude, what's been going on? Like you said, hey Brian, remember how we thought this was a settled thing, like they updated the terms of service? Catch me up, catch everybody up. What's going on?
Happy November, everybody. So they rolled out a terms of service adjustment. Now these are something that take a very long time to roll out. They have to go through lawyers in multiple countries. So there are people that are like, well, what is this a response to? Or, you know, it's because these WoW players are coming over. It takes a lot longer. The last big one of these, I believe, was 2019. So I believe it's been about 2 years. I think immediately after rolling that one out, they're like, okay, time to start the next one.
Oh, and there was a lot of drama when they rolled them out. In fact, the clarification here is that none of that changed. Like the people are just now discovering.
Correct. So there are people in this world, believe it or not, that don't actually spend as much time reading the terms of service when they agree to agreements.
You don't read
that is the majority
months?
of us. If you've never seen that South Park, that'll ruin your day. But the terms of service is something that most of us don't spend a bunch of time poring over. You know, I've referenced it from time to time, so I know I've gone through it, but as a portion of content creation and as a portion of having jobs where contract reading is part of what I've done. So I've been interested in seeing, well, how does Square Enix deal with this? Now that I've had to spend all day poring over contracts at work, let's go, like, it's intriguing to like see, oh, well, how does this apply to a video game? That's a weird, but that's not most of us. Most of us aren't going to spend any time in terms of service.
Yeah.
So what happened is they rolled out a set of updates. The biggest change in it was the change to the party finder to try to get RMT out of the party finder, especially out of that duty roulette category, because it sits on top, where honestly, I don't think I've ever seen a legitimate listing for duty roulette in a public listing. It's always just contact me on Discord for my prices. And so it just kind of ruins the party finder experience that it's just all being misused. And so they wanted to go through that. Over the last several months, they've talked a lot about people kind of abusing various systems and all of that, as the community is excited and everybody wants to play. Everybody's playing their own way. And the terms of service is something that the community since 2019 has been frustrated with, because they did get stricter. The bans have come out, but sometimes we feel like, I don't understand what your rules are, because I felt like I understood them and you didn't ban, and then I felt like I understood them and you did ban. So where is the consistency? And so a lot of what this most recent update was to update the actual examples, the actual terminology, and say, the rules haven't changed. They were always don't be a dick, but now we're going to give some examples of a way that you can talk to somebody respectfully versus not. And somebody's like, wow, so I can't just say, hey, jerk face, I want to pull it this way. I now have to like say, excuse me, sir, pull it this way. Ugh, free speech. And so there are
but I'm
people
just telling
upset
how it
about
is.
this.
I'm just telling how it is, Chris. I'm just telling it how it is. Keeping it real, keeping it 100.
It's fine.
It's
I don't think anybody's actually going to be banned by this. But what ends up happening is now people went in and read about all this stuff. And so a lot of this looks new to them because they hadn't read what it was before, which is effectively the same thing.
Yeah, so we're going to kind of go through the post here, obviously try to help answer any questions you guys have. You can always hit us up on Twitch, Discord, or the comments of this video alone. Be sure to like the video. It does help us out on the channel. So we do appreciate all that if you haven't hit that like button already. And if you just did, you are amazing. So, all right, so let's go ahead and dive into it. Following the update, this is coming from the global community manager for Final Fantasy XIV. And essentially it's addressing two key issues. So this is kind of his intro about the recent changes, etc. So I'm not going to go over that because basically it's asking two questions. Does this mean I can no longer give players any advice? So, Chris, why don't you take us through it?
All right. So we saw concerns based on the examples when they gave these new examples that players may not be able to say anything at all or have any means of offering advice. Getting to the point, there is no issue with offering advice. Communication is an important aspect of participating in duties with other players. The problem lies with attitudes, such as my opinion is absolute and anyone that doesn't listen is wrong, or behavior accompanied by arrogant, oppressive speech and conduct. Exchanging opinions is perfectly fine, as it's only natural that those receiving the advice will have their own ideas and opinions. Of course, there may be cases where you don't see eye to eye on opinions or principles, or cases where the person offering advice is correct and the person receiving it is in the wrong. Communication is not black and white, and the idea that offering a suggestion will be immediately equated to compelling a playstyle is too extreme. There may be times when you've met with an extreme or backhanded response, and in such cases, please feel free to file a report and entrust the decision to us. Rest assured, we do not issue penalties solely based on the fact that a report was filed, and will thoroughly investigate the logs for context as necessary before making a decision. Additionally, there is the option to abandon the duty and disband should you feel the other player is unwilling to accept your differences, as well as the option for that person feeling at odds with the group, which may be yourself, to leave the party. Using these various options at your disposal, rather than being fixated with offering advice or communicating opinions, is crucial in circumventing conflicts before they become overblown.
So in other words, it's saying offer advice. It's you be respectful. Like that's kind of the key aspect. If you do get reported, they are going to review that. So if you are respectful, but I think what this catches people off, because there's kind of two things that have happened here since 2019, because it's interesting to see this kick back up. We've already seen this kick back up back 2 years ago. Like it was, people were worried. And we've also seen, because of that, people really actually stopped engaging in chat more than they were. There's still the occasion, but
correct. Game got quieter.
Game got way quieter. Because there was essentially this fear, this unknown. There weren't examples. Actually, in my mind, I'm reading this, and we read those examples in the previous video, and that actually helped say, oh, okay. And as long as I phrase it correctly, I think we're going to be good to go. And so people might be like wondering, like, how do you phrase it correctly? Like always err on the side of like, hey, would you like any advice? And like they say, if it's untenable, if it's just not going to work out, you know what? That's just unfortunately the way of when you roll an RNG looking for group PvE environment, back out, try again. What do you think, Chris?
I think that's why the North American community uses Party Finder so much for higher end duties, because they can put things like the strategy right there in the description. So even if you think your strategy is better or you prefer a different strategy, you went into that group knowing this is the strat that we are doing. This is the accepted strat for this group. And if you don't want to run that strategy, don't join that group. Like it's fine,
fix it, but it
and so go play a different group or put up your own group that says like, hey, I want to run with this other Brambles layout or whatever, because that's how I prefer to play, and see if you can find other like-minded individuals there. In 2019, this all felt like this massive shift. And so I remember distinctly us wondering, this is going to come down to enforcement, because the language has to be written super strict, but how it's enforced can have a lot more context. And so we were like, if they enforce this at the maximum degree of the letter of the rule, the world is going to feel very oppressive. People are going to get bans for no reason. Nobody wants that. Somebody's going to say, I felt offended, therefore you're banned, and it's going to be a ban. And that sucks. On the other end, if they just put out the words and they don't enforce it all, then people are just going to go nuts and there's no rules. And so we're like, well, it's all going to come down to enforcement. I remember feeling nervous that they were going to be tighter on the policing end than I preferred. Now, it turned out in the years since, that's not been the case. Really, it was the same reasonable people that it was pre-2019. They just had a new set of rules that helped better guideline what they were doing. And they don't always get it right. They have very hard jobs. I don't envy a single person on the team that has to just get reports of bad behavior all day, and they just read people absolute worst moments as their full-time job. I don't envy that job. That seems hard. But now here we are, and they're just updating for clarity, because we've wondered, okay, I do want to offer advice. How can I? You never gave me examples. And so that's all they're saying is like, yes, you could. You gave advice 2 weeks ago. You can still give that same advice.
So now we get into kind of a really big topic, one that I know the community outside of this conversation has been engaged in heavily, as to what is considered selling and what is not. Because obviously this relates to RMT and Gil, but this doesn't even begin to touch on, for lack of a better word, clout in that regards, that, oh, we're here a part of Rich Cobb, for example, because there is a value there that it can't be, downplayed. But is selling clears prohibited? You want to take this one, or you want me to?
I mean, I want to hear you read it, but flat out the answer is yes. Kinda. But buying clears is okay. Yeah. So you're like, wait, what?
Officer, it's only so much. Another topic I'd like to address is whether the new Party Finder restrictions prohibit mercenary activities. I like that term. offering assistance
Clear
with
for
clearing duties or obtaining items such in exchange for gil or other compensation in general. Though the situation varied in each region, there is an enormous number of cases where RMT vendors created recruitment listings in the Party Finder under the guise of mercenary activities, which hindered normal players in the use of the Party Finder, and the changes made at this time are intended as measures to rectify the situation and promptly crack down on fraudulent recruitment listings. As a result, we've prohibited advertising mercenary activities in Party Finder, but recruiting for mercenaries, offering compensation in exchange for assistance, is not prohibited. Players seeking help are still allowed to create recruitment listings such as offering 100,000 gil per player if we clear. Moving forward, if you would like to engage in mercenary activities, we ask that you search and join a recruitment listings from players seeking help. On a final note, based on our experience, there have been many cases where penalized players didn't understand what they did wrong or what the issue was. So we added many examples to these prohibited activities in hopes of lowering the number of such cases. While we've seen concerns that this will make it difficult to say anything at all, targeting certain expressions is not an intention. In other words, simply saying something mentioned in our examples doesn't necessarily guarantee a penalty. If a report is filed, the full context of the conversation is going to go thoroughly investigated and will find a violation. Only then will a penalty be imposed. As such, to reiterate, there is no need to worry any more than before. So I guess now you would ask, was there ever a chance to worry before? Since the document only lists prohibited activities, looking at it itself might give a dreadful impression, but aside from the two new Party Finder related prohibitions, we've merely added examples to the rules themselves and haven't changed since the amendments in 2019. Therefore, if you've been playing without incurring any violations, of course, without receiving any penalties, then there will be no problem with playing as you usually do and remaining considerate to others. The document can be summed up as, due to the nature of an online game, the people we encounter in-game are also individuals with varying personalities, so our speech and conduct should always take others into consideration.
Can you scroll up just a bit?
Yes, I can. Boop-a-doo.
So there's a section here that said, based on our experience, there have been many cases where players were penalized and they didn't know why, right?
Yeah.
And so that was a big piece of the frustration here. So I think what they're trying to alleviate is just telling them why. Now, if you were bannable before this change, you're bannable after. So they're not saying they're not going to change the outcome. If you got banned 6 months ago for something you did, that behavior is still bannable today.
Yeah.
If you did not get banned 6 months ago and they investigated and cleared it, if somebody did report you, which I don't think you get notified about,
yeah,
you did not get banned for that behavior. That is still not bannable today. So, like, I think that phrase right there is what the summary didn't go over. That I think, yes, obviously we need to treat each other with respect, but that first, on the final note, that first paragraph really sums up most of this.
Mm-hmm.
It sums up the entire terms of service, everything post, in my opinion. All we're doing is helping be more transparent, with the exception of the Party Finder change. So the Party Finder change is massive. The Party Finder change is absolutely massive, and it's because of abuse. It has gotten spammed to the point where you can't use Party Finder without having to scroll past all these, check my Discord for my prices.
Yeah.
So if there are legitimately people wanting to help, then they just need to go look for people to help, which before you sat back and waited for people to help to come to you. You're gonna have to take a more active role in that. But if you want to go in and be a mentor to people, then just go through and look for people that are stuck on a particular phase of a fight you wanted to offer help with.
Yeah. It would be interesting to see them down the road if they ever decided to kind of link in kind of that favor, right? Because right now, let's say I was going to pay you guys 100,000 if we get the clear, and I just bounce, right? Like there was no money ever put up front. So just wait for the other hand of this, in which that, hey, they were offering a reward. I joined, we got the clear, and they took off. So it's not necessarily as curated in that regards, and it'll be neat to see
if they pull the gil directly from your inventory.
I think essentially it would be cool to, as if you were going to say, if you're going to update the Party Finder in such a way that it was all of a sudden it's like, this is a bounty, this is a mercenary, Party Finder, and then it's like it basically puts the money in escrow, and then the game would know if you got the clear or not. I'm just saying, like,
do they take a market board cut on that?
Oh, why not? Let's just get more gil out of the economy. Yoshi P's going to be talking to us about crafter and gather changes this Friday. Might as well.
So in chat, I see the policies seem like a streamer can get banned for telling people to get good. They could already do that since 2019.
Yeah.
You already, and we have.
And it
we have
has
seen
happened.
streamers badmouth a player on their stream and catch a
Verbally,
ban.
not in text, like
Verbally,
not even in the game.
text, out of game.
Yeah.
Yes. I tell you guys, this Brian guy on my party is garbage.
Garbage.
I don't even know why he plays. That is bannable. And the reason for that is because I did it publicly instead of keeping it on my side of the screen. Because I did it publicly, what happens is some white knight, for lack of a better term, in our community decides, I think that Chris is right, and that person deserves to know that they're garbage. And so I am now going to whisper them and tell them they're garbage. Except that in the case of this person, they have a large enough audience that it likely wasn't one white knight. It was likely hundreds of white knights. And so now this person, minding their own business, was getting harassed into the ground. And so, yes, streamers can absolutely be banned for being abrasive on stream towards the community, because it doesn't stop there, because they are setting an example for a group of people. And if that group of people acts on their behalf, that suddenly it's no longer you said one mean thing and they can dismiss it. It's they are getting mean things said to them every single time they log in until Square Enix steps in. So yes, and that was not a change with this. That was already bannable.
Yeah. Yeah. And at the end of the day, like when it comes to paying and all the different things like that stuff's still going to exist. That still is going to be, it's just going to be less visible. And then honestly, I'm fine. Like, you know, like you can't, people are like, oh, we have to do this. It's like whenever there's somebody willing to buy, there's going to be someone willing to sell. And essentially, like, how do you solve that problem? And the only thing that I could think of solving that problem is make the content so easy that it doesn't matter. And nobody wants that. I think everybody loses in that situation.
Anything worth having, somebody will be willing to cheat.
Yeah.
But the alternative is having nothing worth having.
Right.
I don't want that either.
Nah, nobody does.
I appreciate this. I think that the Party Finder change is a good change. I think the goal should not be to encourage RMT in game. You need to be aware that it's happening, but like more right click. Like if I could right click report listing, that'd be great.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Just right click report listing.
That's
the one change with this, that they said it, and then I opened up Party Finder that day. Since then, they have people willing to take more time than I am have gone in, and it has cleaned up quite a bit.
Right.
But
that's where I would like to see right click report, because they say they investigate, right? So make it, and if they're going to do that context, like if they're going to investigate, it's not auto ban, because we don't want that. We don't want to have like an army of like, oh, we're just going to ban, like, guys, we got to get this guy banned.
Wouldn't it be funny if we all right click reported Brian?
Oh yeah.
And then he gets banned because it's like, well, we got 150 reports. They can't all be wrong. And so they just ban Brian off of just an auto ban. That'd be crap.
Yeah. But we do need to have that ability for that accessibility. And we only got it for the RMT spam in chat when Yoshi P got on and he actually saw how it is in the West. Like he's like, oh, this is a real issue. It's like, yes, it is. Can we have some more of that, please? Like, please.
Yep. He was in I think he was in LA doing one of the live letters, and he hopped on one of the North American servers to play with the community, which he does on the JP servers all the time, and RMT bots spammed it.
Yeah.
So they just spammed the wrong guy. They could have gotten away with it for years. They just not spammed.
Years.
They spammed the wrong guy.
So thanks to that bot for messing up and allowing us to finally have a tool in that regard.
So, oops.
Anyway, Chris, why don't you take us out, dude?
Well, ultimately, guys, I think it is the same great community it always was, policed and guarded by the same great devs that it always has been. We are weeks out from Endwalker. I am so excited. I am at the end of my Endwalker prep, which is good because we are at the end of the wait for Endwalker to the moon, guys. We look forward to spending this time with you. We are going to have an absolute ridiculous amount of content coming your way for any time that you happen to not be logged in game. Log back in game. Play Final Fantasy. Thanks for sharing. We'll see you next time.
Take care.